Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Barry here, and I think you're listening to episode 40 of season 4 of the Iron Hour podcast, brought to you in association with TalkSport Fan Network and available wherever you get your podcasts. That might be YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, or anywhere else. I'm proud to say we are sponsored by No Film, Best Blanks Wholesale, Hole in the Wand, and AC Videography and Photography. Well, the romance of the Cup turns into a toxic relationship with us and teams in the divisions below us, as once again we get knocked out of a Cup competition. So coming up this week, we dive into that 2-1 defeat to Horsham and lament over what might have been, as Wembley woes continue. But we still do have those aspirations of promotion, and who knows, maybe it will be via Wembley, so all is not lost. We look ahead to the Irons home fixture against fellow promotion hopefuls Southend this coming Saturday, with a very insightful spy in the camp with talented musical shrimper Ollie Davies. Our panel give us their predictions as sponsored by the Unity Group, and we also have a couple of questions this week from some fans, so we'll put them to our panel. We will, of course, review Andy Butler's latest transfer and injury admissions, including more stalling over that prospective loan striking, and Ollie Ewing staying at Glanford Park past January. And of course, we will finish with our FPL update and maybe a little bit of housekeeping towards the end. Well, I'm pleased to say my hand-picked panel this week. First of all, let me introduce making her debut appearance as a panelist. Of course, she has been on before, featuring in a couple of segments, but let's call this her full debut. It's Scunthorpe United voice of the fans member, Eloise Nichols. How are you doing, Eloise?
Good evening. All right, thanks. Just realised you muted me, so I better take myself off mute.
That wasn't me. Can I ask you, how does that introduction compare to the absolute butchered practice run we just did?
Some improvements, I think.
Yeah, requires work. Requires work indeed.
It's the fleet. I can't take it.
Oh, listen, you've gone in early doors. You've gone in studs up early doors. There's no need for that. I'll have you know, this is imported from Alabama. So, just my little flex for you there. So it keeps me warm.
You think that's a flex?
I'm not sure it is. When you
cosplaying as Leonard Skinner.
Very good. Very good. Well, you may recognise that voice. He fixes should we start again? He fixes potholes. He answers constituent emails. He swears at referees. He offers fantastic footballing insight. And above all, he continues to rake in earnings from his published book, Scunthorpe United 20 Legends. It is, of course, Mr. Max Bell.
I'd just like to say any abuse I gave to your jacket was unwarranted. I thought that was a fabulous introduction, and I'm going to write that down.
Thank you very much, sir. Next up, completing the ensemble today, you'll find him 10 bites deep in the Donny Road end and telling opposition goalkeepers just what he thinks of the women in their lives. He's Larry, he's boisterous, he's Italian, but above all else, he is our very own. It's Marco Paliga. How are you doing, Marco?
Wow. Yeah, that's some intro. I'm quite concerned I think this has took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll fill a gap. But yeah, no, very happy to be here and discuss all things Scunthorpe. But yeah, I mean, yesterday, for those who don't know, I definitely didn't hear mine and Barra's phone call last night. We were sort of role-playing a situation where if Barra wasn't host and Max wasn't available, who could fill in?
I think, let's be honest, I think what we said is if I died...
It was if you died.
Yeah. It was, like when you're 5 pints deep at a party.
I wasn't 5 pints deep, I was driving, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would explain some of your drive. Yeah. Like when you stood at a kitchen, in a kitchen at a party, and you're like, if you could be, but it was more like, if I died and Max lost his voice, could you step up and host the podcast?
And I gave you a little scenario, and you said that's genuinely quite impressive.
I mean, you basically copied all my mannerisms, which was annoying to have all my sins laid bare. But
you're clutching at straws to get Marco in there, aren't you? Like you've literally got to be dead for him to get an opportunity.
I mean, we really are scraping the barrel.
I'm starting to feel like Joey Dawson.
I mean, I think like if Marco gets the call, you better know that we've rung 20 people first.
I'd just like to say that, just like Joey Dawson, Marco, you've got a much more talented dad.
yeah. Do you know what? And at least he can make pizzas and not just take money. Fleecing people for a living.
And that's just Andy Dawson.
Hell.
Right.
Anyway,
we get back on track.
Yeah.
We've got lots to get through, and I've already eaten through like half of the podcast. Eloise, thanks for joining us today. Before we talk about football, let's talk about Voice of the Fans and specifically what is happening on Saturday.
We're going to be in one of the huts. I think we're next to the Unity group, so we're prime position at the front. We're just going to be there. I'm going to do a luxury shoebox wrapped in tissue paper for any questions. I'll bring a notepad and pen. Just in case anyone wants to do anything anonymously, I can put names on it. If there's any questions that they might want to get asked that we can look at a later date. Just a general chit chat, see what's on people's minds, see if we can get any ideas going. Just a bit of a presence, really, so people can get to know us a bit more.
Maybe don't have a general chit chat with Stu Moore if he's in the Unity group about what he thinks of the World Cup hosting parties, because I think he's a little bit miffed. We love you, Stu. Did anyone else get the tag on Facebook?
I've heard that he's unplugging my telly.
Yeah. He's like, what do you think of America hosting the World Cup? I'm like, well, as somebody who's got to travel to America, I think it's the best country in the world. No issues with it at all.
Please don't take my phone.
Yeah, you know, genuinely, the first time Barrow went relatively recently, was it about 12 months ago, had to speak to me to say, please don't message me what you actually think about the situation. I don't want the border guards going through what Max actually thinks of, you know, ICE, Donald Trump, all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad we've got you back, Barry. You're in one piece.
Yeah, and Stu, if you are listening, which I know you will be, please don't tag me in anything like that because I may die. So, you don't want to read about me on BBC News. Well, listen. Anyway, Eloise, great to have you on. Great to hear about the initiative on Saturday. So I guess a lot of fans will be asking, you know, we've explored this before, but the purpose of that group, I mean, you are a conduit between the fans and between the club. A lot of good work so far. What are your aspirations for it? What do you think you can hope to achieve?
I think initially we just want to get ourselves out there a bit. I think some people are maybe still not sure who we are, what we're trying to do. So I guess it's just making ourselves known so that if there is anything that pops up to people, that any questions, anything, I think we sort of want to be a bit of a bridge between everything that goes on with you guys and the other groups that are going on. So yeah, I think we're still sort of figuring it out, and with the club and things, having the meetings and having our meetings ourselves. So it's just trying to get our feet on the ground and running, I guess, literally.
Yeah, and have the club been quite receptive? Who's been at the meetings?
Yeah, so we've had James, Michelle, we've had George and Julie as well now. So we're covering quite a bit. It's just whoever's available. I think, guess we know they're all busy. So yeah, George was interested in the last one we've got a flyer made for Saturday, which was George's idea. So yeah.
And I don't know if it's been any conversations about the pitch. I guess not. Nobody's talking about it.
I think it's been quite. Michelle spoke about it in her interview, didn't she? I think it's been quite well covered. We know there's no we can do now, and I think the club know it's not a good situation, but at the minute it's a case of riding it out, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where we are. I was being tongue in cheek, of course. Right, let's talk about football. Let's talk about the FA Trophy defeat to Horsham, and as we say, Max, another cup run comes to an end, and it was a disappointing 90 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was the correct result. I thought Horsham played better, particularly as you know our goal came against the run of play, and it would have been easy for them to go, it's not our afternoon, to bounce back with 2 goals before half time. And even in the second half, you know, we made the substitutions. By the end, we had just about our best side on the pitch. It never felt like the Alamo. It never felt like we were laying siege. You know, realistically, how many saves did the Horsham goalkeeper have to make? And look, they were, you know, they clearly played very well. It clearly meant a lot to them. Obviously, they've just been promoted into the National League South this season. So you're playing a side in the club. We've had a really good couple of years. I thought they deserved it. Massive shout out to their supporters. I mean, I think Marco, you might have been in the iBar before the game where we were getting a genuinely terrific rendition of like the Beatles' greatest hits, but in Horsham style. No surrender to the low fat spread. I think that was my favourite. Marco's clearly too drunk to remember this.
I wasn't.
The yellow and greens one. What was the line that went in that go?
To the tune of the Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
And I will not do you the disservice of butchering that.
Nobody needs that.
And I know quite a large number of them were actually booked in another travel lodge and were booked in at the 80s and the 90s night that Scunny were hosted in the exec lounge after the game. So they clearly had a great trip. Look, we've been the other way around when we're the small club going away from home. Our record in the cup hasn't been good for close to 50 years. So the best side won, and best of luck to them. I think did they get Southend at home?
Yeah, they did.
So hopefully they get a few quid from that.
Marco, my question for you is: how glad are you that you weren't at the 80s and 90s night then, considering it was full of Horsham fans?
It'd have been a little bit of a rough do, wouldn't it? And but no, look, and like Mac, just to echo what Max said there, I think I've got no questions with the result, nor the manner in which we won. Other we just weren't at the races. I've seen lots of people saying, but was not sort of taking it seriously. But look, that 11 that we put on the pitch to start the game was more than enough to be beating a side like Horsham, with all due respect. So look, it's just one of them days. Wasn't meant to be. But yeah, like Max said, we'd never really tested their goalkeeper, who gave me hope of maybe being a professional goalkeeper at some point. But yeah, look, it's one of those things, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't really disappointed, because I feel like that was a really good opportunity to get to Wembley. But yeah, look, all eyes on the playoffs now, and yeah, I think we just need to write Saturday off, and look, our league form's been tremendous. So yeah, the old cliche, focus on the league without crying. But yeah, I think we really need to knuckle down and take Saturday for what it is, and it's a huge game at home on our mud bath, sandpit. I don't know what you call it, but yeah,
Life's a beach. I think we said, didn't we, after the Boreham Wood game, that first 45 minutes was arguably Andy Butler's best 45 minutes in charge of the Iron. I think there's an argument to say that 90 minutes on Saturday is some of the worst football he's turned out. And, we're positive when it's positive, and maybe we need to be honest this week. And I love the guy. I thought Andy Boyce really struggled, Marco, on Saturday.
Oh yeah, hugely. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'd never say he looked out of his depth, because he's pulled off some really good performances this year and often been a standout player. And again, that's something none of us really expected this season. So the fact that he's been in that conversation to be starting games, again, is credit to Andy Boyce. But yeah, the last sort of few games, look, I mean, we've mentioned the pitch a lot. He does look leggy. And again, this is Horsham. It's not your Forest Greens or your York Cities or your Rochdales. But yeah, if he's not sort of in that 50-50 physical battle, I do worry about it around at his feet. But again, this is only off the last couple of games. But yeah, last Saturday really sort of made a cause for concern. Look, let's hope it's just a little bit of bad form, but with others chomping at the bit. Obviously got Evans fit now. I'm going to get in trouble here. Not Denton. Horton. Horton, obviously, first name on the team sheet. And then, look, JB's in fine form. So, look, there's a lot of players knocking on doors. And when you've got a player who's not in form, but has got that luxury of replacing him, giving him a little bit of time off. And especially with Boyce, he's played a lot of football. And again, like I said at the start, we weren't expecting him to be playing as many games as he has done. And he's been phenomenal. So, yeah, the last few games, I don't think he's been at the level, but yeah, it's easily forgiven. I think he's been phenomenal this season.
Yeah, I probably have a slightly different opinion. So I didn't think that Andy Boyce has necessarily been below par up until the Horsham game. I thought he's turned out some pretty decent performances in recent weeks. For me, it was. I'm putting it down as a one-off, right? We're all allowed a one-off, and for me, that's what Saturday was. And I'm sure he'll come back whenever he gets back into the team, and his next performance will be solid enough. I really do rate Andy Boyce, and I'm sure it was just a blip. Right, Eloise, let's talk positives from Saturday, because we do like to pick some stuff out. And if you look closely enough, I'm sure you can find one or two. So let's talk about Connor Smith, because it was great to see him back starting for the Iron. And maybe he didn't have his best game, but he did cause them a few problems. What did you think? Great to see him back on the pitch. Great to see him back in claret and blue.
Yeah, it was good to see him back. It was a weird one. It was sort of, oh yeah, he's on the pitch, and then he'd be somewhere else, and it was like he was just being used a little bit to nullify what they were trying to do, but it wasn't really working. It was, yeah, weird one. But yeah, good to see him back. I think if he's in the right position and playing with the normal starting 11, I think he'll be all right.
Right, I'm utterly depressed over the results, so I think I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and let's move on and look ahead to Saturday's fixture against Southend, and we'll kick it off by talking to our spy in the camp. Well, Iron fans, as we look forward to the game against Southend, we are joined this week by, well, the rather talented and musical shrimper, Ollie Davies. So, Ollie, thanks for joining us. First of all, tell us about your work.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Musical Shrimper for a start. I mean, that's sort of a little bit of an authentic nickname. I thought I'd kind of combine the two things which mean the most to me in my life. And I thought, Music Shrimp, not really. It's a little bit cringe. Musical Shrimper had a little bit of a ring to it, I thought. So I thought I'd kind of keep it a little bit original, if you know what I mean. So, the music side of things, just sort of doing what I can, covering songs that I enjoy, writing, playing locally, getting people to hear music, posting online, obviously, just trying to get it out there a little bit. I've been doing that now for a few years. I mean, I started writing when I was very young. I mean, I've kind of carried it on throughout my throughout those years. So that's something I enjoyed in Southend. I mean, it's kind of it's been two things which have gone in tandem, really. I mean, I've kind of kept them going, like I say, for as long as I possibly can. And I think that's sort of where the name comes from, to be honest.
Nice one. Right, let's talk football then. Let's talk Southend. So, being a Scunthorpe United fan, supporting a team that's been through a lot of troubles off the field in recent years, and of course, arguably Southend's situation was a lot more perilous. So, give us a brief rundown of what's happened and where are you at now?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it was very similar. I mean, we had the embargoes, we had the points deductions, and very scarily the winding up petitions, which obviously could have signalled the end. I mean, I think people at the club who have kind of come out and said that we were within minutes of going out of business. We had a very infamous court hearing where the judge actually said to us, if you weren't a football club, you would be wound up. So that's unbelievable. We were kind of kept going by the spirit of our fans, who have been incredible throughout it all, whether it was protests or social media posts trying to alert attention to the former regime. But I think it's been a tough few years. But I think unfortunately we're still sort of suffering from it. But to be honest, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. We're just very, very grateful for where we are now.
Yeah, I think that's sentiments that Scunthorpe United fans would echo as well. Let's have a look at a constant then throughout that time, which has been the gaffer, Kevin Mayer, appointed in 2021. He's now managed over 200 games with a win percentage of 42%, which is pretty high, to be honest, considering this includes your time in League One, League Two, and now, of course, the National League. So stylistically, what kind of manager is he?
I think he's quite... I'd say we're quite... it's difficult to say. I mean, I want to say we're an aggressive team. I think we are. I think it's sort of divides opinion a little bit amongst our fan base, because with the way the National League's going now, there's so much attacking football being played, and the league's developed so much. But I think it's important you sort of keep those sort of traditional values, which is, we're still a non-league team, still need to fight a little bit. And I think we do that a lot. I mean, especially when we were going through some of our hardest times, we would really battle. And it's kind of we've got a never say die attitude. I mean, I think that kind of came to the forefront in the playoff campaign last season. I mean, we were 3-1 down to Rochdale. I remember watching that game thinking this is going to be a hiding, and we ended up coming back and winning 4-3 on after extra time, and then obviously getting through to penalties against Forest Green. And I think in the end, our luck just ran out against Oldham, but still kind of fought till the end. And I think that's that's the style, if you like. It's just playing till the end and not never saying die. And I think that's all you really ask for as a supporter, is that sort of attitude and ethos.
Okay, let's have a look at the tale of your season so far. So on one hand, you've got the league, and it's pretty jam-packed at the top of the table. You're looking at the top six, and really anyone in there is in with a shout of the title. Now, just outside the playoff spots at the moment is yourselves in 8th place. As I say, just 1 point outside the playoffs. So there, you got that on one hand. On the other hand, you've got a potential cup run, which could take you to Wembley, having beaten Chatham Town on Saturday. And of course, this means you're through to the quarterfinals of the FA Trophy. And you will play Horsham, who obviously defeated Scunthorpe in the last round. So if we'd have overcome that obstacle, we would have been playing yourselves in the quarterfinals. So where are your aspirations this season when you look at the league versus the FA Trophy?
Well, I think, to be honest, we again, it was so sort of conflicted after we beat Chatham, because the game itself was absolutely terrible. There was no sort of action at all. We struggled at times, but I think it's important to remember they were the ones who knocked Carlisle out of the competition. So that's sort of I think that gets lost on a lot of people. But I think, to answer your question, going up against Horsham in the next round, I've always said if we can sort of shuffle our pack a little bit, because we've got such a strong squad, and I think people underestimate that. And even some of our fringe players, and even going as far as the academy, I mean, we've got such talent that I think if we did just shuffle our pack a little bit in these games, we'd still be quite comfortable. But I was sort of proved wrong against Chatham, because we were it was on edge for a long time, that game. When maybe it shouldn't have been, but in the end, I think it's so difficult to balance that. I think any manager up and down the country will tell you that being in two competitions and trying to prioritise them both at the same time is a near impossible task. But I think with the league as it is at the moment, one thing we are very good at under Mayer is putting a run together. So hopefully we can do that again, like we did at the end of last season, to get into the playoffs. But then at the same time, opportunity to get to Wembley again, and I think that's never to be sniffed at. Just hope that we can put our eggs in the different baskets, but still make it to Wembley in the playoffs and in the FA Trophy. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all being well.
And one thing we always do with our guests is focus on a couple of players that stand out above the rest. The one that takes my eye is Andy Dallas, the ex-Scottish Premiership striker. 9 goals so far this season since arriving from Barnsley, having played in the EFL last year with both Barrow and Morecambe. And of course, he got 2 goals in your recent 3-3 draw against Boston. So Andy Dallas, good player, great player, cut above the rest.
Yeah, well, he came in and he sort of was showing the level that's required to get out of this league, because we were crying out for a number 9 for so long. I mean, you see it now with so many clubs; they've all got great strikers, and the strike force. It's not just one striker, but it's the strike force between them that get. I think York, like last season, averaged about 40 goals between their strike force, which is just absolutely insane. I think if that's what's required. Then that's important. But no, Dallo came in and he just hit the ground running straight away. I don't think he had an injury. I think it was a hamstring away at Forest Green in November, and then he hasn't really been the same after that. However, as you say, he saved us in that game against Boston, and I think one of the biggest things for us all season has been our penalty taking record, and then he stepped up, put one in the top corner, so that sort of demonstrates that he should be on spot kicks. But no, all round, I think he's a very good player. He takes the ball, he drives at defenders, which is something we maybe don't see enough from our attackers. Can create his own luck. He's a poacher when he needs to be. Makes runs in behind defenders. He's just an all-round great striker, and I think it'd be great to play alongside him, because obviously he does a bit of everything. But yeah, no, he is a cut above the rest. I think, to be honest, to answer your question, I think he's been excellent since he's come in from Barnsley.
And another ex-EFL player who's certainly impressed this season has been Harry Boyes, who I believe is featured in every single league game so far this season, and of course has played in a variety of different positions as well.
Yeah, well, he came in and we were all very excited. Well, I mean, I say that we had a little pre-season tour in Mercia, and I think some people who went out there said he looked like he was struggling to settle a little bit, but then he kind of came in, and we had some games at the start of the season, notably away at Gateshead, and then at home to Tamworth, and he was just absolutely excellent. I think the fullback going into this season, the fullback position was a little bit of an issue for us. I mean, we didn't have conventional wing backs, as it were, but now we do. Obviously, you've got Gus Morris on the other side, who's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I think Boys, he's been one of our most consistent players all season, and it just shows when you say stats like he's played every single league game. There's a reason for that, and that's because he's been absolutely he's been outstanding for us when he's played.
Right, the last thing we'll talk about before we get on to our predictions is the goalkeeper situation. So let's hope I've done my research and got this right. So Nick Hayes was the number one throughout October and November, then surprisingly went to Hartlepool in January. Cameroonian Colin Andeng Ndi started number one, but lost his spot to Hayes and has since regained it. So, I mean, a lot going on. What can you unpack it for us? What's been happening there?
It's been, I mean, it's hard for us to keep up, to be honest with you. I mean, we never really know. We were going through a spell earlier on in the season when we didn't really know who was going to be in the net. And to be honest, it's weird. I think back to the start of the campaign when we sort of said, you know what, just let them toss a coin and see who starts in goal because they're both equally as good. But they started to make some errors, the pair of them, actually. I mean, notably, Colin made one away at Rochdale recently. He's made others throughout the season, but then Nick Hayes kind of had, I think, two away at Forest Green, and then you start to think, well, it's one of them or it's neither of them. And I think actually we needed to move one on, and in the end it was Nick Hayes. But then we've brought in Owen Mason on loan from Mansfield, I believe, and then he started in goal against Chatham on Saturday and saved the penalty, kept a clean sheet, and he's kind of won over the fans now. And it'll be interesting to see if he starts on Saturday over Colin. That's going to be interesting. But I think the one thing we need is a settled goalkeeper because, to be honest with you, it doesn't really help your defence. I always say that when you've got a different goalkeeper behind you, you want a little bit of consistency. But no, Colin's still young. He's still developing. So I'm kind of putting my faith in him a little bit. But Owen Mason at the same time, it'll be interesting to see how he develops on his loan spell with us.
Well, Ollie, thank you so much for coming on the Iron Hour podcast this week. Before you go, we do this with all our guests. We like to ask a prediction ahead of the upcoming game. So, how do you fancy your chances? What do you think the score will be?
I mean, we away from home, we're very hot and cold. You never really know what you're going to get from us. Sometimes we come steaming out of the blocks. Sometimes we're a bit pragmatic and it ends up coming back to haunt us. So I think I'm probably going to go safe and say 1-1. I think, yourselves, you're doing very well in the league. Obviously, I think you came down to Roots Hall and did a job on us massively, but it's 2-0. So, definitely not getting too carried away with it because it's going to be a very tough game, especially up north. I don't know if I said or not, we really struggle up north. And against teams in the top six, we don't have the best record, especially this season. So I think 1-0 is probably a safe bet, and I think I'd probably be quite happy with that, actually, if we ended up getting a 1-0 draw.
Well, that was the very talented Musical Shrimper, or is it known by his mum, Ollie. It's great to hear what he thought there about Southend and their aspirations for this season. Of course, what we talked about earlier, Max, we now know they'll play Horsham in the next round of the FA Trophy. Now, this game is going to present us a lot of challenges, a lot of different challenges from what we face on Saturday against Horsham. I ask you this question every week. Where will this game be won and lost, Max Bell?
Whether or not we can unlock Southend's defence. They've got the second meanest defence in the division. And that's going to be particularly the case away from home where, you go into a side in the playoffs and look at who you are. It's perfectly tactically justifiable to go, right, bank of 4, bank of 5. Let's see what they've got. So I would be really surprised if we replicate, for example, Connor Smith starting in the midfield, the centre of midfield, as he did on the left of the three against Horsham. I think back to our win away at Southend, and it's going to be a very, very different game to that, where, for the first 45 minutes, they put a lot of balls into the box. There was a bit of an aerial assault, and I thought that the centre halves and the back four as a whole dealt with that really well. And then in the second half, particularly in the sort of the first 15 to 20 minutes, we really exploited the space brilliantly. Could have scored 4 or 5 goals on the counter-attack, moved the ball really slickly in the final third, and very, very rarely do you get the chance to do that at home to anyone, really. So if I was us, I'd be looking to try and start strong on the front foot. Don't let the game sit at 0-0 for as long as Southend would perhaps like. Let's not give away cheap free kicks. I think Southend would be relaxed by the pitch. They're not traditionally the kind of side who are looking to really move the ball slickly into the final third. So it's going to be an interesting one. There'll be physical battles across the pitch. We're going to have to be at it.
Louise, let's talk about how this game might play out then. So Max has gone for set a platform early doors. What do you think? Similar for you, or do you think we should look to attack this game from the off?
Yeah, I think get in there early. I think there's no reason why we can't play like we did against Boreham Wood. That's sort of similar, straight in attacking. It's going to be different, I think, from, like I say, from when we played them at their place. And the pitch is going to play into that, isn't it? But yeah, I think I was really impressed with Howe on Saturday. I know maybe people weren't, but I thought he played really well, and I thought he did a lot of that running back that we sometimes need. So I think I'd be wanting to maybe start with Howe as well, because I think he's got that energy, and he's got hopefully got his confidence back after scoring on Saturday. So, I mean, 5 up front for me Saturday.
To be fair, just putting in there, I actually think we looked worse when Howe came off on Saturday. I think Ollie's got a point there. Not whether that's got something to do with the result or anything, but yeah, I thought he was really good till he came off.
Louise, let's get back to Deck Howe then. So when we look ahead to the Southend game, would you start with Deck Howe then, or do you think he's that player to bring on at some point, maybe 60 minutes, 65 minutes? Because you talk about his work rate, but you can lose that if you start him. He does start to fade around that hour mark.
Yeah, I think I'd start with him, and I think I'd give him maybe that hour, because we know we've got players that we can bring on to replace that energy anyway. I think if you start with him and give him that chance and then bring him off if he needs to. I mean, he's said, hasn't he, about playing a full 90? Has he only done 1 so far this season?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think give him an opportunity. I did think he was probably stand out on Saturday for me.
Well, Marco, if Deck Howe did start, then presumably we'll be playing out wide, because I think we could say if Danny Whitehall's fit, he's going to start the league games. And we know Butler doesn't typically like to go with 2 up front, although arguably that is what we did on Saturday at times. So would that presumably mean that Connor Smith would miss out? And do you think that's fair? Do you think he did enough on Saturday to warrant maybe getting another start?
No, I think he was quite quiet. That's nothing against Connor Smith. We know his abilities, we know his talent. But look, there's no point rushing it. There's no point forcing him into the team for the sakes of it. I think Eloise is right with Howe, possibly a good option out there at the minute. Obviously losing Fleming, who would have been that first name on the team sheet, but obviously he's collecting splinters at Grimsby. So look, it's needed. But yeah, everyone wants to see Smith playing and scoring, hitting the ground running, but football doesn't always work like that. So yeah, I think same with Max. I think a solid foundation. We won't be going counter-attacking football like it was away at Southend. Those games are very hard to come by, and he's right. We could have scored 4 or 5 that day. Howe was guilty of missing a couple of chances at the end, ironically. But yeah, I think we'll see possibly unchanged from the Boreham Wood or the Forest Green game, depending on whether Butler thinks Boyce is droppable or worthy to be dropped or not.
Well, we can talk about Andy Boyce in a moment when we get on to reviewing the Andy Butler interview on BBC Radio Humberside, because we do have some injury update on that front. But Max Bell, all things being well, let's say he has a clean bill of health all round, what changes would you look to make?
It's a good question. I'm not sure I would start Howe just because I'm not necessarily sure it's that kind of game. Look, Southend may surprise me in terms of their tactical setup, but in those wide areas, I'm perhaps looking for a little bit more creativity. I still think Howe's best spell this season was early doors when Butler played a diamond. I was really impressed with him at Tamworth on the opening day. And a bit like Connor Smith, I'm reluctant to blame players or unduly criticise them if I think they've been played out of position, which I think Howe has been, and I think he's made a game fist of it, and I think it's been the right choice in some games. Look, we'll see. The one player I really want to see at it for us and just continuing that great run of form he's been on in the league in sort of the last 6 weeks is Roberts. I think when you're playing good sides, he's got a real sprinkle of quality that makes a massive difference in big moments. He's proven that against a number of very good sides. And look, Southend are on the cusp of the playoffs. They've got games in hand. This is going to be a tough game. They really weren't. They were minutes away from getting promoted last season. You don't become a bad side overnight. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but that's what gets you into the playoffs, is getting good performances and good results in tough games against good sides.
Okay, let's move on to our predictions then, as sponsored by the Unity Group, who once again last week celebrated their 1-year anniversary, so congratulations on that. Eloise, I'll kick off with you. Scunthorpe United versus Southend. What will the scoreline be?
I'm going to go 2-2. I think it'll be tough, but I don't know. I think we've been better away recently, and I think we're just going to have to ride it out for a few games. So yeah, I'm going 2-2. Going to get a Howe goal in there as well.
Nice. And a Roberts one as well, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so our Spine the Camp has gone 1-1. Eloise has gone 2-2, with 2 draws from 2. Marco, what do you reckon? You 3 draws? You going to give us a win?
No, I'm gonna go 2-1 Iron. I think we seem to step up a level playing against these teams towards the top end of the table. Saturday's result, possibly a kick up the arse, but we won't have been happy with that. So yeah, I think we'll be on the front foot. I think we'll take the game to me. I'm going to go for a positive 2-1 win to the Iron.
Marco is Mr. Positivity himself. I'm sure Max Bell won't disappoint. What do you reckon, Max? 4-0, 5-0, 6-0?
I agree with one of those goals, and I'm going to say 0-0. Marco shook his head. Barra's acting like he hasn't predicted 0-0 about 15 times this season. Look, I think it's got to happen at some point. I look at the league table and there's a noticeable gap between second and third now. I mean, we've played the same number of games as Rochdale, and they are 11 points clear. If you look at Rochdale's points per game, they're on for about 114. It's absolutely outrageous. Look, a point against a playoff rival wouldn't be the worst result in the world. And I do wonder if it's 0-0 with 15 minutes to go, will both sides stick or will they twist?
Yeah, I'll chuck mine in then. I'm going to go 1-1 as well. I also think it'll be a draw. Be a tough game. Right, Iron fans, we will move on to a couple of questions. Well, 3 questions, in fact, that have come in this week, and I'll put them to my panel. So, Eloise, I'll start with you. And this one comes from Trudy's Dada, who always makes me laugh with that name. Is it Keith? Is that his name, Marco?
I'm not doxing. I'm not doing any. I don't know any of it. I don't want
to. Well, it's Keith and he lives in London.
Congrats, and we've got his. Can we say Keith is a friend of the podcast? So that is absolutely not a dox.
I'll be the talk of the. I don't know what it is. The talk of the town. All 10 of them, but yeah.
Right. Okay. So Keith asks you, Eloise, do you believe playing sides around us in the table gives us a better chance of winning games than playing teams doing less well? The stronger teams might be prepared to be more positive, but this can create opportunities for us.
Good question, because it does seem to be the case, doesn't it? We do seem to play better against the better teams. I mean, you only have to look at Markham game to see how we play against the lower. I don't know what it is. It's just, is it a different mentality? Is it that we're more revved up for it? I don't know, but there's something that we seem to do better against the better teams. I mean, I don't think I was expecting the Forest Green result. When was the last time they conceded more than 1 or 2 goals? So, yeah, we just seem more up for it. Don't know what they have in the market for a big game, but it's something in it.
No, look, it's probably full English. No, I can't imagine Andy Butler would stand for that. I think it's granola. Right, Max, I'll ask you this one because it's a bit of a controversial question, and I know you.
Oh yeah, I'm a stranger to controversy, aren't I?
Exactly. It would be an absolute hospital pass to ask Eloise it, so I think we'll sit with Max. So this is from Dopper, and he says, "Do you believe after playing on our, shall we say, unique pitch surface for over a year now, it has changed from being a negative to now possibly being an advantage against sides who struggle to adapt to it?"
I mean, look, we should be more able to adapt because we're playing on it more regularly. That's a fact with any surface. I think back to the plastic pitches of last season. I think back to the rancid plastic pitches of seasons gone by. I'm still not convinced it's a positive. I still think it's an injury risk, and I still think you do see when passes are played. Sometimes there's a little bit of a bubble there, and it can't help when you've just got that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind. Can I trust my first touch? Can I play that ambitious crossfield switch? So I think we probably are more able to adapt because of the regularity, but I still don't think it's an advantage.
No, can I trust my first touch? That's basically what Marco asks himself every single time he steps onto a football pitch.
I was worried that was going somewhere else.
I was also very worried.
It doesn't matter where it was going, it's where it finished in the end. Marco, Paul Sutton asks you, if we don't finish top of the league, what do you think we will end up, or rather, where do you think we will end up? And why haven't we signed some new players by now? Why haven't we signed them, Marco? Tell us, why haven't we signed these players?
Well, just after coming off the phone to Butler earlier on this evening, no, look, it's one of them. Look, I think we just mentioned Rochdale are having one of those seasons, which a few teams seem to do in this league. With your Wrexhams, obviously York missing out last year, having a 97-point season, and look, it looks very possible that it's going to be that figure again. And look, we weren't expecting to be in this position. The club certainly weren't. I think the main priority was staying in the league and achieving safety. So look, that's maybe your answer why we've not gone out and signed 4 or 5 players to maybe have a go at winning the league, because look, those teams above us have a 4 or 5 times as big a budget. So yeah, look, as good a question it is. I'm going to sound like Swan here to lower expectations, but no, it's
you look like him.
I think where we are now is phenomenal, and if we finished where we are now, it would be also equally as phenomenal. So I think, look, without trying to disrupt the squad, I think we've got a very capable squad of achieving playoffs now. There's a big gap. So yeah, look, it'd be easy to throw money at it and go for that top spot, but 11 points is a lot. I know we've got to play them twice, but these teams are up there for reasons, and the budgets are huge, and it's just we're not there at the minute. And yeah, it's a simple answer. I know no one wants to hear it, but look, if Butler and the guys can just keep doing what we're doing on the pitch, and who knows, let's not write anything off. But look, our league form's phenomenal with the team we've got, so yeah, there's not too much need to change it. And look, we just signed Connor Smith for money, and if you'd have said that a few years ago when you guys were out with the buckets collecting money at the club, and now we're signing players for money. So yeah, I think we need a little bit of a seat back. I know this loan player that's been promised is quite frustrating, but it seems like that's maybe off the table as well now. But yeah, look, we've got a lot of good options. So everybody stay calm and don't panic.
Right, in just a moment's time, we will get on to the latest interview with Andy Butler on BBC Radio Humberside as we look at the news coming out of the club this week. But before we do that, just to give a bit of a plug to our very own Ollie Woolley, who wrote the article, which is titled 50 Wins and Counting, Butler Breaks Record, which we released just before the Horsham game on Saturday. But it's still relevant, so we implore you to go give that a read. It's, of course...
It's still 50.
Yeah, still 50. The number's still 50. It's still relevant. of course, it does what it says on the tin. It looks at Andy Butler's first 50 wins for the Iron and kind of breaks them down. And it is really worth a read, actually. So if you get a chance before Saturday's game, while you're on the train travelling up from London, Keith, give it a read and let us know what you think, because I know Ollie works really hard on these articles. So it's well worth a read. Okay, then let's have a look at that interview which we just mentioned on BBC Radio Humberside. Louise, we've got some injury updates. So the injury updates coming out of that interview are Andy Boyce has got a tight hip flexor. JB's got a little stiffness in his ankle, and that was why he came off at half time. And Joey Dawson has a tightness of the hamstring. So,
lucky fella.
Yeah, apart from all of that, the team seemed to be in a good bill of health. So with those 3 injury updates that I've just given you, your initial reaction to that, and do you think that might have any changes onto the starting lineup on Saturday?
Well, JB's had a stiff something for a while, hasn't he now? He's had stiff neck. There seems to have just been...
I'm sorry, we've corrupted her already. I'm sorry.
But again on Saturday, I thought until he got took off, he was really good. So
until he got pulled off for his stiffness.
Oh God, behave, Andy, behave.
Sorry, play on.
Yeah, Boyce, I'm no commenting because you know my views.
We love him.
And who else did you say?
Joey Dawson, hamstring.
Yeah, again, I mean, he's on the loan list, isn't he? So that's no love lost, I think, on that one. Yeah, I think JB can hopefully get a run in the team because I really rate him. But aside from that, I think if Evans is fit back in, hopefully. I was the same. I thought Butler was. It was interesting that he dropped Starbuck because I think he'd been off the boil a bit for a few weeks before that. I thought it just looked like he'd lost it, and I thought when he got dropped, I thought Butler doesn't seem to make them decisions quickly usually. So I don't think we'll see him on Saturday.
No, maybe not. Okay, Max, let's have a look at a player that Butler picked out in that interview, and of course it was Zane Westbrook when asked about Andy's nomination for the Manager of the Month award and Zane's respective nomination for the other award, of course. But picked him out, a real leader, says he's really kind of grown into that role. I mean, he really has been crucial to us, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been terrific, particularly ironically in the last month, which has led to that nomination. The fact that his loan was extended until the end of the season, I think, is a real boon. And probably saved them from having to. I don't even want to know what's going on there. Are you saying he's the GOAT?
He is the GOAT. He's been phenomenal.
Okay, very good. That won't make much sense to anybody listening to this on Spotify, but okay. What that was Marco getting a picture of a goat on his phone.
Yeah. And he had to delete a lot of pictures before he was willing to show us his phone, I can tell you that.
A lot of animal pictures, which is more concerning.
Yeah, that isn't the only picture of a goat he has on that phone.
Anyway, nonetheless.
So that one, Max. Yeah, finish that one off, Max.
Let's not make any inappropriate jokes. I think I've been really pleased with Westbrook, and I'm sure he has too, particularly as obviously throughout the season a lot of the finals have gone to Ewing. So the fact that he stepped up and put his foot down with some quality performances in that middle of the park, which we know is a game defining area. It's a season defining part of the pitch. So if he can play in the next month like he has in the last month, we've got a real good chance of getting some good results against some good sides.
Yes, we do indeed. Marco, let's have a look at the transfer news, the transfer speculation. So Andy Butler confirmed a couple more going out pretty soon and look to bring a couple in. Movement there on the fringe players going out. Then asked about the elusive lone striker who was originally touted as being from the EFL. And the narrative now is he'll have a conversation to see if that's still going ahead. An admission that it has stalled again. And again, he said that he didn't set the conversation off to get people talking. But I think it's worth remembering, actually, that if we look at this, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't Andy Butler who set this off. Of course, it was Michelle in her interview with BBC Radio Humside, who revealed that we were in the market for this striker. He then started talking about Ollie Ewing and really happy that he stayed past the January transfer window. And he said I didn't really expect him to leave in January anyway.
Yeah, look, Ollie Ewing staying's as good as a signing. A lot of people expected him to be moving on. Obviously, with the EFL window being January. So yeah, that is a positive and fair play to Butler. But yeah, like you said, Michelle's maybe jumped the gun a little. Obviously, Connor Smith was done, so that's fine. But then saying a player was coming in and until that contract signed and the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, you don't really want to be releasing that. But look, this is football. Things like that happen, especially look with Scunthorpe. This happens on a regular basis. So yeah, I think he's said a few times. At one point, it was a contractual issue at his former club. At the club he's at, sorry. Now I know obviously Humberside has said he's still involved in the squad in the first team.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting as well that there was an admission a couple of weeks ago that I think the player we originally were looking at is now changed.
And look, Butler said he's got a lot of options, which no doubt he does. It's no secret that Butler's head chief vice scout is the job lot of them in it. So look, he's got a lot on his plate. I'm sure he'll be going to Michelle cap in hand if the right player becomes available. But look, for Forest Green's game, I think Carlton showed that he's very capable and he's knocking on the door. So if nobody does come in, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think we've still got enough. But look, Butler would be very silly to not be trying to improve a very good squad as it is. But the play's got to be correct, like he says. There's no point signing somebody for the sake of it. We've had a lot of strikers who's not really achieved the levels of getting close to Whitehall recently. I mean, I'm not talking Fishburne, Beck, even being harsh with Dawson. So yeah, it's got to be the right player, and to rush it or bring someone in just for the sake of stopping people tweeting saying when's this striker coming in would be stupid. So yeah, look, it's got to be the right thing.
And Louise, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but Marco brings up a really important point, which is Carlton. I think he's the forgotten man often at times, and we talked about the impact that he had coming off the subs bench as of late. We talked about that last week. He's the player ultimately that scored the goal that got us promoted. Arguably the most important goal in our recent history. He's the forgotten man. Do you think he warrants a start? Does he warrant a run of games? Because when he does play as that striker, he does look impressive, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what game it was a few weeks ago where he was dropped straight after the game. He played really well, and I think he must be feeling pretty hard done to. And putting the emotion into it, it makes me sad when he does that, when he scores, and it's like, no, we all really like you, like we want you to do well. It's sort of and he doesn't. He comes up when we need him. That is what he does, and I think he probably does deserve that run just to. And I know Ollie Turner sounded surprised last week when Butler spoke to him that he was going to go to Hereford last season, but I thought that was common knowledge as well. But then again, he scored that goal there, and that's what got us to being at home. So, yeah, I can't see him staying past the end of this season when his contract's up, purely because I think he probably knows he deserves to have a good run of games. And if he ain't going to get that now with us, is he ever going to get it?
Yeah, and look, last year with Whitehall's injury, Carlton got that run of games and he proved he's at that level. Mm-hmm. Look, Butler's had him in and out of the team a lot now. But yeah, he's the definition of that big game player. But the tough thing, I mean, we spoke about it earlier in the week, Barry, especially after the Forest Green game. There's no middle ground with him. He's either a 2 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. But he has a shocker or he's fantastic and he's a level above. But the sad thing is, if you've got 10 games, I think 3 or 4 is the 2. But then 5 or 6 is phenomenal. And look, it's just getting that average and getting that, like you said, when he's got a run of games, for example, at the end of last year, I think he showed he's more than capable. Yeah, it's very tough for Butler because I can understand both sides. But yeah, I think Eloise is right. I'd be surprised if I see him next year because I think he deserves to be playing first team football regularly.
The one goal that doesn't get talked about was the one against Chorley in the playoff semi-final where he cut him cut in from the left, and what a strike! I mean, that really was one of the best goals I'd seen for a lot of seasons. But
then at other times, other times his first touch has been a pass or out of play, or like he never really looks like he's got it under control. But then, like you said, whether it's the overhead kick this season or like you said, that goal, the finish at Hereford last year was phenomenal. A lot of his finishes this season have been phenomenal. He's just like a jack in the box. He's such a surprise, and you don't know what you're going to get from him. But I really do enjoy watching him play, and I hope there is a place for him.
Right then, I think we'll move on then to our FPL update. Marco, I mean, I'm not bottom, so that's good, right?
Yeah, we'll take that. But yeah, so we'll start with our panel league first. Becky's flying. She is, I don't know what she's doing. As we've been saying about Butler, we're letting her cook. But yeah, she's having a phenomenal season so far. So she's top of our mini league. But fans' favourite, People's Princess, is holding up the bottom in fifth, closely followed by Barra, who's dropped one this weekend. But only by a couple of points. Then we've got me in third, Max in second, with quite a comfortable lead of 41 points. So yeah, look, it's all still to play for. Regarding our actual podcast league, there's not been too much change at all, other than Tyler Denton has creeped up to fifth place. And what worries me is if he wins that £100 bar tab, before the end of the season, the playoffs could be a bit ropey. But yeah, no, it's Josh Wentworth still at the top. He's got a couple of points lead. Mike Hickson, friend of the podcast, he's also in fourth. But yeah, it's a real high scoring league, and I was having a little bit of nosy, and I was watching Sky Sports News because I'm sat earlier on Saturday, and they were sort of averaging the points and where it should be and stuff, and the level of our league is well up there with the best of them. So yeah, really well done to everyone who's still playing. Like we say every week, there's nearly 400 people in this league. So if you're anywhere in the top 200, you're above average. So yeah, really well done. Thank you to George Inn and Batten for sponsoring us, as mentioned, and supplying a £100 bar tab.
Yeah, it's going to be a disappointment if you don't win it, Marco, isn't it?
I'll just go in anyway. I don't need an excuse.
No, I know you don't. Okay, it's been a really good podcast. We've had a good laugh, but Max, I think it's time for us to talk about something quite poignant. And of course, we're talking about local legend. This is Evie Maw, and we know Evie's had a lot of health struggles, a lot of battles with her health over the past few years. Originally diagnosed with that brain tumor, and with the town really has stood with Evie, and with the various charity football matches, and how can we help her out?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a really sort of important opportunity to help fundraise for a really excellent cause coming up that has been organised by sort of her family, but also some of the local families as well who've done an absolutely great job. So there's going to be a race night on Friday the 6th of March from 7 p.m. at Brumby Hall Social Club, which is, for anyone who doesn't know Scunthorpe that well, it's the big building behind Apfrod Football Club. You're driving down, go past the pods, go past the football, it's on the right. For just £10, you're going to get pie and peas, race night and disco, which I do genuinely see is outrageous value for money. Marco's practicing his disco moves already. We're going, aren't we, Barra?
Yes, we are. Have you told the person that's accompanying you yet that they're going? Because
No. Have you told the person who's accompanying you yet that you're going?
No, they'll be there.
Why does all this sound quite seedy?
So at this point, it might have to be me and Barra going together, which I think makes it sound even seedier. But no, genuinely, it's going to be a great night fundraising for charity. There's going to be lots of Scunny fans there. It's for a really great cause in terms of raising money for Sunflower Action Group. So do make it along if you can, or if you keep an eye on our podcast socials. We'll chuck the post and a couple of donation links as well for anybody who can't make it along. So yeah, excellent cause, and I'm sure it'll be a very successful night. Hope to see you there.
We do hope to see you there. And once again, we just want to give a big shout out to Evie Maw. We know, of course, the club invited her to the Young Heroes event that they held recently, but unfortunately, she was too ill to attend. As I say, she continues her battle. So everyone at the INR podcast and all Scunthorpe United fans, everybody associated with the town of Scunthorpe, will of course send their very best wishes to Evie and her family. We know her dad quite well, Karl, really good guy, and yeah, honestly, guys, our hearts are with you at the minute. So thank you for listening to the INR podcast. Thank you to my regular panelists, Max and Marco, but of course a special thank you to Eloise for joining us. I'll say this evening, but it'll be the morning when it gets released. But thanks for joining us. Eloise, have you found it?
Yeah, like I say, when I remembered that I wasn't just watching you and I had to actually speak.
Well done for putting up with us.
What was it like watching the magic happen, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, it's as blundery as it is when you're listening, isn't it?
It's even worse.
People really don't put it out.
Is the magic in the room with us? Because I can't see it.
He's visiting me. Right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the INR podcast. Iron fans, we'll see you on Saturday. Make sure you read Ollie Woolley's article, and we'll see you next week. Up the Iron.